Hello, we are live again. We're going to look at flowcasts. We're going to look at video overlays again. I am just adding another lovely point right pound flowcast about video overlays. Okay, let's do it. I want to create another kind of overlay today. We're going to look at a slightly different technique for animations, but in this one, yesterday where we looked at like designing, we exported something that was absolutely the same size as our video. This one we're going to create something a little bit smaller, and then we're going to drop it into the video, and then we're going to reposition it and scale it. Okay, so it's just a different technique, so you don't have to export. Say if you're doing something on 4K, you don't have to export 4096 by 2160 or whatever. You can just export the size that you need, albeit scaled up for the size that you want it to be shown inside of. Okay, so let's just have a look. This is the animation that I want to create. Again, just sort of riffing off of these great little motion graphics templates by Motion Array. It's the follow me animation, this one right here. This. Let's make something like that. Okay. Let's look at it one more time. There we go. All right, so let's just get to it. We're gonna stick it into this animation, or this video today, and let's just head over to Flow. I started just concepting it out earlier, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna delete everything. I'm gonna delete the scene. Oh, there we go, the timeline. You can delete the timeline, that deletes the scene. Do it. Okay, so there's a couple things I noticed in that video. The follow me animation. The follow me, so it goes up one and then the me comes in, or whatever way you're looking at this, follow me, something like that. And also what happens is the background comes in and then compresses down a little bit. Okay, so to just tighten up around it. And then when it goes out, it just goes back out without scaling. So let's try that. All right, what I'm gonna do is create an empty timeline. I'm going to make it 400 by 100, just like that. Let's zoom in, pressing Command 1. Let's call this FC34. This is our animation file, and let's start with the letters. All right. So what we'll do is I'm just going to hack this. I'm going to go up here and copy that name scene, and I'm just going to paste. And then we're going to make this whole thing 400 by 100. And then we're going to go here and we're going to change this to Bezier circle, bold. Let's go bold italic. Why not? And let's see, 96. Oh, actually, what we'll want to do is we'll want to fit it with the name, or the actual text. So follow me. Okay, so that's got to fit in there. So let's bring down the size to 64. Does that look right? 48's a bit small. Let's go ahead here and call it 56. Yeah. I like the size of that. And okay, so now we've got that in place. It's centered, obviously, in the square, or in the background. And what we can do is we can do something like that. We can just play with the height a little bit. I'm just dragging it up, and then I'm snapping, and I'm just looking over here at the F to make sure that the middle of that F is actually centered on the scene. So I'm just command dragging. I could probably make it 68, enter. And that looks nice and centered to me. Okay, so that's centered. Now the next step we can do is we can also go ahead and put the background color in. So let's insert a layer. We're just going to use a layer for this one. And let's say that background color is this lovely pink or red or whatever it is. And we'll drop that in behind our scene, or sorry, our label. Actually, I'm going to rename this thing from scene. It just adopted the first, it adopted the words that I had pasted as the name, but we're going to call this label main because it has all the words in it. And now what we'll do is we'll go over here and we'll change the width to 400 for that background. Okay. So the next step that I want to do is I want to, because I know that the follow me comes up in 2 different steps. Okay. It comes up like this. I want to have 2 different layers for my labels. All right. So this is what we're going to do next. And the easiest one is to just copy and paste. Oops. We're going to copy and paste that label. We're going to say this is label follow. And we are going to turn on relative mode. We are going to change that color to white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Fs and hit enter. Then we are going to reposition it back right there. And we are going to go over here. We're going to delete the last few characters. Okay. And now what we can do is actually what we can do. It's actually pretty straightforward. We are going to align left. We're going to make the layer a little bit smaller, just like that. And then we're just going to move it into place. There we go. Looking pretty good. That size is a little wonky. Let's just make it 180 and reposition it again, just like that. And that's looking great. So we're going to copy and paste the follow because it's got more or less the same height and width and everything. And we're going to call that me, label me. In here, we're going to change it to me. And now we're going to command snap it up into place. We're going to move it right into place like that. And we're going to change its size down just a little bit. And then let's just smooth it out and make it 104. There, nice and tight. So the follow me is in the right position. The background state is in the right position. And now what we'll do is we're going to turn off the black text. Okay, so I'm just turning off the black text because we don't need it. We could delete it, but if we want to just keep it around for reference, it's no problem. And it looks like at some point I didn't have relative mode on. So what I'm just going to do here, and this is a nice trick, is when you have a bunch of key values aligned, if you click on the parent track or the timeline track, it selects all of the key values that are directly in line with that key value that you selected. And you just hit delete. So I just went and deleted all of those. We're at this state. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create the starting state. Now, one other thing that I noticed was that when the letters come in, okay, they come in not from the bottom of that square, of that background color, but they come in and they sort of clip in. So we're going to use the same technique that we did yesterday. And we're going to create a group and we're going to mask to that group. All right. So let's go ahead and create a new layer. Insert a layer. That layer is about that big. And let's just press Shift and Option to drag it down like that. 60 by 60 looks pretty good. Let's call that 60 and make sure that it's 60 like that. And what we can now do is we can turn off that little lock and then we can say that this is 400. Okay. We're also going to then take the label follow and the label me and we're going to drop them into that layer, which now creates a group. We're going to change the background color of that group to something nice and dark, just like that. And now, not then, now I'm going to create the starting animation. Okay, so obviously the follow me has to come down. So let's double click in and let's select those two layers. So at the very beginning of the animation, these are down here. These are down just like that. And let's zoom in, zoom out. Okay, we don't want an X animation, so let's just delete that X animation. The Y animation is good, so that comes in like that. And then what we can do here is we can, with that group on, we're going to mask that group to the bounds, and now we are going to get rid, with relative mode on, that background color. 0, enter, Command Shift R. Okay, so we have, there we go. We got the follow me coming in. And that's great. And at the beginning also, this is out there. Something like that. So it comes in. Okay. Now the timing's not accurate, but that's fine. Because what we're actually doing is we're just sort of blocking in the animation, and then we'll fix the timing afterwards. So for now, I'm going to turn off this because what I want to look at is just this coming in. Okay, so let's do something like that, and then what'll happen is we're going to make it a little bit tighter like that. So let's make it 90 high. So it's going to be 360 by 90. Sounds good. Let's make it 360. And okay, but that's not exactly what we want. We want to see, we want it to sort of pop in. And how do you make that pop? Well, you do something like this. And then you overlap them a little bit. Something like that. Something like this, maybe. And maybe we do something a little more dramatic, like using like an expo in, or expo out. No, expo in. No, I don't like that. Let's go cubic out. A cubic in. Let's do a cubic in out. Yeah, we can even shorten all of this. Something like this. Let's make it 0.75. Oops, no, this is, we want to shorten this. Let's make this whole thing a little bit more dramatic. Let's also make this one cubic in out. That's it. There we go. I like it. Boom. Boom. Yep. That's the timing that I like. Okay, so let's turn the group back on. And now we're going to take those animations, and we're just going to drag them out a little bit. Let's say they start animating right about there. So it goes in. There we go. These are a little bit long, so let's make them a ½ second each. And then let's take the label me and offset it by about 0.2 of a second. I like it. I like it. Okay. Next step that we're going to do is we are going to animate everything back out. All right. So the follow and the me should both go back to their original state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy and drag them like that. And then I'm going to drag it like this. And then I'm going to select these because I want to create a little gap. And I'm going to make that gap. And I'm going to select those. And then I'm going to move them all out like this. So let's give it a good 1 second follow, because maybe we have a 10-second animation, and then this is going to be like the video itself that we're cutting into is going to be 10 seconds. And now this one, let's say, is It's going to be maybe about 4 or 5 seconds when we're done with all the timing. So let's say that these two, so I'm going to select these two key values because I want them to come out at the same time, and that's the technique with this one. Okay, boom, follow me, like that. And then what we'll do is we are just going to change the width of this thing. Because if you noticed in the video, and it's a little bit hard to see, but what happens is it's big and it slides in and then it compresses and then it goes out like that. So at this point, it's just the width is going down to 0. So let's do that. So here we're going to say, actually one thing that we need to do now with this is we're going to turn on relative mode again. Switch. We're going to turn on relative mode and we're going to change the anchor point. Top left. We're just going to anchor it to the left. It doesn't matter where it is anchored, whether it's like the top, the middle, or the bottom. We just want it to be anchored to the left position because now I'm going to say that its width is 0, just like that. Okay. Now in Flow, there we go. Oh, that was in relative mode. Let's turn off relative mode. Let's go like that. Let's take that scene. Let's go to the end. Let's grab the, that was the group. It's the layer, the background layer. And we're going to make the background 0 points wide. Now, Flow, just for certain reasons, can't ever have anything that's exactly 0. So, and that's a technical issue. One of the things that we're trying to do actually when we're exporting to all different kinds of export formats is there is again this baseline, and I've spoke about this in another Flowcast, but there's this baseline of features that you need to have. And one thing is when you're exporting to code, you can't have things that have no width, because if you have no width, then there is no layer, etc., etc. It gets a bit funky in certain situations. So Flow does limit you to like 1/100th of a point for making things wide, but that's okay, because what we'll do is we'll just turn off that the color or something like that right when it gets close enough. Okay, so it ends up being 0.1. Let's go, and we're going to offset this. We're going to say it's also a 1/2 second. We're going to offset it like this. And what we'll say too is at the end, this little line that you can still see, its opacity is 0. And it doesn't actually even matter how long this is. We're just going to give it an opacity of 0 at the end. And we can bring that back by like 1/100th of a second, just to make sure that at the end of our video, our animation is at 0.3. Let's call this 0.33. Let's call this 0.329. And we're going to call this 0.3. And we're going to limit our animation to 3.3, and we're going to clip it just like that. Okay. In, out. Oh, look at that. We have to reposition a little bit because I think the X and Y the anchor point animation just tricked us a little bit. That's right, because the scaling was off. What we can do, let's go undo. And what we're going to now do is we're going to press Command Option R. We are going to select that layer. We're going to make its anchor point in the middle. So that is actually, I actually kind of lied. It was important where the anchor point was, obviously. But now we have our animation that goes like this, and then it just animates out like that. Okay? And the last thing that we need to do is we go onto our scene. We click, we make that background 0%, and we are almost ready to rock. Okay, there we go. So now what we'll do is we're going to export a movie. We're going to call it Follow Me. Now, we're going to replace. Oh, there we go. Let's go. And we're going to do it again. We're going to call it Follow Me. And we are going to change the scale. We're going to scale it up to 2x. So it's going to be 800 wide by 200 tall. And again, 60 frames per second, 4444, because that 4444 is going to give us the nice, it's going to give us that nice, oh wow, my brain. It's going to give it, it's going to give us that nice ability to have a transparent movie overlay. And let's go like this. Now we are going to export and replace. Okay, and now I am going to press Command I. In here, we're going to press Command I. We're going to import this video right like that. And this was the old one that I was just testing with. So let's bring this guy in just like that. And it looks like maybe there was a little bit of a problem exporting to that frame. So what we'll do is we're going to go back into Flow. We're going to say at the very beginning, we're going to give it some, yes. Yes, when I was editing, I didn't notice that I left it hanging over the edge there. All right. Oh, no, let's undo that. That was a relative mode change. Let's undo. Yeah, that looks right. So Command Shift M again. We're going to click on here to get the right name. We are going to click on here and scale it to 2x, and then we're going to hit export, and then we are going to replace. And that looks good. There was a little bit of pink over here on the left-hand side before, and now it's not there. Perfect. So now what we'll do is we will delete, and then we will press Command I, and we will re-import that movie. So now this is a little bit different technique than we used yesterday. Let's say we take this animation and we just drop it right here. Okay, and now we get this lovely, interesting artifacting. What is that artifact in there? As soon as it goes away. Now, have I missed something in our design file? Command Option R. Let's go back. Interesting. Let's, maybe it's these. Even though they have a background color of clear, we might want them to just come down a little bit like that. Let's go to the beginning, and we'll say that the label Y right at this point. Label follow. Could be it. Could be it. Let's bring it down to there. Or even what it's doing, for some reason. Yeah, let's bring it down like that. Outside of the group. And again, so this should be 97. Let's make this one 97. And we go Command Shift. Let's try that. Follow me. To X. Export. Replace. Final Cut. And delete that layer. Command I. Movie. And how does that look? Just like that. Interesting. And it's the same thing at the end. So it looks like maybe I found a bug that I will try to fix in the next release. With the background color of text layers is exporting to movies as black if it doesn't have a color. So that's fine. Where the other bug right here is that these should be both 97. Just so that they are definitely off that layer. Yeah, because they don't have any animation there, and their backgrounds are supposed to be clear. Okay, so we'll do it one more time. Follow me. 2x, follow me. Export, replace. One last time. All right, always doing things on the fly. You can. And let's go like this. Follow me, enter, and drag that on one last time. All right. So let's just move it something like that. That's looking pretty good. Although it's massive, right? It's massive. Okay, but that's not what we want. What we want is for it to be positioned properly. So let's say it's going to go in the bottom right-hand corner. We're going to scale it. All right. So we're going to scale it. Or actually, let's go look at what it looks like in the middle, right there. So let's scale it down to 40%. And then we just drag it over into the corner. And now it's positioned, just like that. All right, so let's hit it. Looks good. Now, obviously, there's always little things that you can do, tweak. Let's make it 25%. Maybe it looks a little bit better. There we go. And again, if we go ahead and let's make that a little bit bigger so everybody can see it. Cool. And if we go and export now, master file, we should get a pretty good looking little master file. Oh, look at that guy's eyes. That's barefaced. There we go. Cornelius, our lovely little mascot. All right, so very similar process to yesterday. We're looking at something, we're trying to decompose how the animation works and just sort of iterating. It's a good example today of how I iterate on things. Oh, this didn't really work. Let's go and fix it quickly. Let's go back. Let's go fix something a little bit, touch it up a little bit off the cuff. So obviously found something that might be a bug in Flow, and I'll try and release a fix for that in the next version too. It looks like Final Cut crashed the live stream. Funny. Anyways, so I was just saying is what we ended up doing was we ended up scaling in, we decomposed the animation. We slid and scaled in the background. Then we had the two pieces of text come up at different times, and they were inside of a group, and then we used the group to do the masking on those things, and then they come out, and then instead of reversing the animation for the background, which isn't the aesthetic that was in the demo that we were recreating, we made its width almost 0. We talked about why it goes to 0.01, and then we just switched off its opacity right at the end. Okay, and then we dropped that into our favorite video editing software. I'm on a Mac, so I use Final Cut Pro. But you might be using Camtasia or Adobe Premiere or something else, and this still will work. It should work in those as well. I've tested with Camtasia, but I don't have Premiere, but my guess is it should work. So you drop that into whatever project you're working on, and then you can reposition that thing, and you scale it and reposition it and all kinds of goodies. Okay? All right, I will see you tomorrow.